ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. I'm delighted to join you all here this morning for the 6th University Scholars Leadership Symposium. It is indeed a rare privilege and great honor for me to address this global audience comprising over 800 potential young scholars and leaders from all over the world. Let me first extend to you all a very warm welcome to Hong Kong. It's a pretty warm day today. It's pretty hot in Hong Kong. A vibrant, international, and exciting city where the East meets the West. In fact, the drummers, the Chinese orchestra preceding the ceremony, typified the color, the vibrancy, and the cosmopolitan nature of Hong Kong. I would also first like to thank the symposium's organizers, the Humanitarian Affairs United Kingdom and the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, for bringing this week-long prestigious event to Hong Kong for the first time in our history. The University Scholars Leadership Symposium has established itself as an internationally acclaimed and important young leaders platform. Allow me to say that you have chosen the right place to come to Hong Kong, and also the right time. Why? Here's the right place for us to discuss how to make the world a better place. I say this is the right time because many young people all over the world are yearning for a meaningful pursuit, as well as an exciting and promising vision of the future. They aspire to make a difference and do something good and something worthwhile. As we all know, many economies are still experiencing the lingering effects of the global financial crisis, the global financial doom and gloom that began in the year 2008. The world economic outlook is still clouded by considerable uncertainty and remains pretty volatile. Despite the tight labor markets and low unemployment rates in the more robust economies, youth unemployment rates are invariably far higher, 2 to 3 times higher than the overall average. Graduate unemployment remains a problem, a hard to crack in many places, as is the issue of an apparent slowing down in upward social mobility. Hong Kong is no exception on this score. Although our latest overall unemployment rate for the period April to June this year remained at a very low level of 3.2%, which is in fact close to full employment. Some argue it's actually virtual full employment. The unemployment rate for youths aged between the 20 and 24 stood at 10%. Against this background, I do hope that the lessons that you will learn and the messages that you will draw from this symposium and also from your visit to Hong Kong will equip you for your future career and provide inspiration for you to contribute to the improvement of the welfare of the people. I said earlier that Hong Kong is the right place for this symposium because I have every confidence that Hong Kong, with our resilience, our dynamism, entrepreneurial spirit, and our uniqueness, will continue to play a vital and a positive role in tomorrow's world. And even if you are not from Hong Kong, you could be part of Hong Kong's future. As you all know, Hong Kong is a tiny dot on the map of East Asia. Unlike West Australia, you are a huge country. We are a very small, you have to find Hong Kong with a magnifying glass. The map, where is Hong Kong? Little Hong Kong. We are a very small and externally oriented economy with a population of 7.2 million. Your population is 2.5 million. So you can imagine, little Hong Kong, huge Western Australia. However, Hong Kong is a leading international financial and business center, a premier logistics and aviation hub, rely on the crossroads of Asia-Pacific, strategically located, as well as the International Maritime Center. Indeed, Hong Kong is widely regarded as the freest, I stress the word freest, economy on earth by the Heritage Foundation for 20-odd years in a row, consecutively. Both the best, the freest economy on earth, and we're also a highly competitive economy for that matter. We are well known for our world-class infrastructure, a very low and simple tax regime. Our direct tax is only 15%, very low indeed. And also our robust banking and financial system, an abundant supply of highly skilled professionals and good governance, corporate governance for the private sector. We operate a level playing field here, where local and international companies compete on an equal footing. And corruption, of course, is not a problem in Hong Kong. We've got a clean administration, a clean government overall. What is more, we have a free and open society underpinned firmly by an independent judiciary and the rule of law. We enjoy the free flow of information, freedom of expression and association, as well as a free press. Ours, in fact, is a pluralistic society where issues are fiercely debated every day in Hong Kong, and in fact every Sunday. I'm sure that we'll bump into these later on when you walk. In fact, Hong Kong Island is a very common sight on Sunday. Demonstrations in the street, public demonstrations in the street, marches in the street. A freedom of expression take place every Sunday in Hong Kong, absolutely legitimate, permissible. As a special administrative region of the People's Republic of China since 1st of July 1997, Hong Kong has been operated successfully, and if I may say so, admirably well, under the cardinal and very innovative principle of one country, two systems. This gives Hong Kong unique advantages and allows us to enjoy the benefits of being part of a rising China, which serves as our economic hinterland, a vast economic hinterland, China, whilst retaining Hong Kong's own inherent strengths and features as an international economic and financial powerhouse. When you're in Hong Kong, you're in the southern tip and doorstep of China. But then Hong Kong is not just any other Chinese city, because we practice the other system, one country, two systems. And that system provides us with distinct advantages compared with other Chinese cities. Under the nomenclature of Hong Kong, China, that's the title, Hong Kong, China, we can take part in our own rights in key international organizations, such as the World Trade Organization and the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, and WTO, Hong Kong in our own right, as a separate customs territory. As an open international cosmopolitan city, Hong Kong welcomes talents, professionals, and of course entrepreneurs from all over the world. We have various admission schemes to facilitate the entry to work, to live, and settle here, even make Hong Kong their home. If you are contemplating where to start your career or find an internship, our door is always wide open, and the opportunities we offer are promising. I'm not doing marketing for Hong Kong yet, but I just want to introduce Hong Kong to young leaders like you. Little tiny little of Hong Kong, but don't write us off, okay? As one of the international financial and business hubs, Hong Kong has always been known for a high connectivity with different parts of the world. We have been playing the key role of a super connect between mainland China, business and enterprises, and the rest of the world, simply because Hong Kong understands both the mainland and global interests. This understanding, indeed, has been our core competency for several decades. Our unique position as the Chief Knowledge Officer the CKO, Chief Knowledge Officer, can help mainland enterprises, Chinese enterprises, go global. That's why a lot of IPO in Hong Kong. Even if you are just stopping by or taking a gap year out in Hong Kong, there is always fun and lesser known sides of Hong Kong to explore and to discover. Our world famous Victoria Harbour skyline and our fast pace of life here. We walk very fast in Hong Kong. Life is hectic here. The tempo here is really very, very fast. Give you only a glimpse of the hectic lifestyle of an international financial center. In stark contrast to the city's concrete jungle, unlike Western Australia, greenery, beautiful landscape, lies behind concrete jungle lies our big green mountains, countryside. In fact, it is worth noting that over 70% of Hong Kong's total land mass comprises countryside and hilly areas, and 40% is officially protected as country parks and marine parks, where a variety of flora and fauna are housed. In fact, this is our challenge in terms of land use. A lot of lands are locked. We can't use them. That's why we've got to go for reclamation. And land is always at a premium in Hong Kong. That's why land prices here are very, very high by world standard. Our exotic and exciting food scene, I'm going to food now, you're feeling hungry, best illustrates Hong Kong's East-West culture. As you walk into a typical local tea cafe, known as in Cantonese, Cha Tan, we say, the tea cafe in Hong Kong. Not the huge restaurants, but on the street, small cafe. We call it Cha Tan, a typical local cafe. You will find a diverse range of reasonably priced, cheap, and affordable food items, but good standard, on offer. From sizzling steak, Chinese steamed fish and dim sum, Indian curry, Russian borscht, to French toast, all made into a distinct Hong Kong style, of course Thai food of course, Australian of course, incorporating both authentic and local flavors. This fusion cuisine underlines the openness, the diversity, the creativity and the pragmatism of this dynamic and cosmopolitan community. But Hong Kong is no doubt a largely affluent society, with our gross domestic product per capita currently at $40,000 per capita GDP. We're generally a rich city. In fact, a lot of our people here, a lot of billionaires, in fact, top the world's 50 richest people. They're all in Hong Kong, from Hong Kong, live here. We do have our fair share of social problems, a rapidly aging population, a shrinking labor force, and the poverty problem are some of the challenges that make Hong Kong, I would say, both typical and unique as a living workshop for aspiring leaders like you to develop your problem-solving skill and learn how to contribute to fostering a caring community. I said earlier, a fast-aging community, how fast-aging Hong Kong is. We've got a population of 7.2 million, I said earlier, and of these, 1.1 million, 1 out of 7, aged 65 and above. Come 2041, the year 2041, in 26 years' time, that figure will skyrocket to 2.56 million, which means 1 out of 3 Hong Kong people will be so-called senior citizens, 65 and above. In fact, earlier this week, figures come out, Hong Kong very proud indeed in terms of life expectancy. Our men topped the world. In fact, 81.2 for men and 87.6 for women. And that figures will also go up to 86 for men and 91 for women by the year 2041. You can imagine that we are a fast-growing society. But of course, with challenges come opportunities. We've got a growing, mushrooming silver hair market. You mean silver hair market means gray hair market. They can spend. Not every old man and woman is poor. In fact, some are pretty affluent. They can spend. In fact, that's why silver hair market in Hong Kong. So if you're looking for Hong Kong as a market for silver hair market, come here and you've got tremendous opportunities in years ahead in terms of appliances, in terms of medical services, in terms of elderly care support. We welcome, in fact, talents from outside to join our labour force for that particular reason. I said earlier, labour force, strangely, what is the situation now? We've got Hong Kong now a population in terms of labour force. We've got around 3.9 million people, labour force. Our unemployment rate, as I said earlier, is only 3.2%, so it's very low. But come to think of it, of these 3.9, 334,000, the figures is easy to remember. In fact, are foreign domestic helpers from the Philippines, Indonesia, Thai, and South Asian countries working in Hong Kong, helping families here, free up our women for the labour force. So discounting foreign domestic helpers, we got a very low number of foreign workers here, only around 3,000 foreign workers, but a lot of overseas professionals were welcome, expatriates in Hong Kong. Discounting foreign domestic helpers, you're talking about our labour force will peak by the year 2018, in 3-4 years' time, 3.7 million people in around 3-4 years' time, and start to taper off continuously for 17 years until 2035. They remain at 3.5. So we're losing 200,000 people in terms of labour force in the next so-called 20 years ahead of us. So the challenge is pretty huge. Why? Because an aging population, we got very low fertility rate. In Hong Kong, our fertility rate is only 1.2, whereas the replacement rate is 2.1. So you can imagine that childbearing women in Hong Kong generally, they can only have 1.2 children, babies, vis-a-vis the world replacement rate of 2.1. So you can imagine that you've got a deficit here in terms of population. That's why I'll explain later that we need to replenish the population. That's why you're most welcome to come to Hong Kong to help us. But tackling head-on this dual double challenges of aging population and dwindling labour force, the Hong Kong government has recently mapped out a holistic population strategy. In fact, I'm one of the architects of these very important strategy. Our game plan basically, in essence, consists of 50 initiatives to promote sustainable growth, unleash the potential of the local workforce, nurture homegrown talents, of course. We must provide upward mobility for young people, attract foreign talents, and embrace the opportunities of a growing silver hair market. We are also striving to improve the livelihood of our senior citizens here so that they can spend their golden years meaningfully and age gracefully in a dignified manner. We always believe that proper planning and right strategies can turn challenges into opportunities. I always believe we can turn crises into opportunities. I'm an optimist. I'm very positive on that score. Our aim here is to help those who are in need, who are vulnerable, and to give ample room and opportunities for those who can to realize the potential to the full. To build a caring, compassionate, and fair society for all, the Hong Kong government, in fact, devote almost 60% of our recurrent government expenditure to education, social welfare, my portfolio, and health, three main livelihood areas. We put poverty alleviation at the top of our policy agenda, and I'm very glad that the current government attaches great importance to welfare, education, and poverty alleviation. Our strategy is to ensure that we have a reasonable and sustainable social security and welfare system in place for those in need. And though that's important, we should encourage able-bodied young people and adults to become self-reliant and economically productive through employment. As part of the government's concerted efforts to tackle poverty and enhance support for the vulnerable, we have introduced the statutory minimum wage, a very controversial move on my part, and I explain later the difficulties of doing it and why I insisted we should have minimum wage in Hong Kong. We've set up a high-powered commission on poverty. We've devised an official poverty line, all this only taken place in the last 2 years. Rolled out a host of measures targeted at the needy, including the old age living allowance, which has now benefited over 400,000 of our senior citizens. We're talking about 420,000 old people benefiting from this allowance, representing 40% of the entire elderly population. We will launch, in the first half of next year, a very, very important measure. I describe this as a flagship policy tool to tackle income disparity, to help the working poor, and that is called the Low-Income Working Family Allowance. This allowance is designed to promote employment. We want to encourage employment, not relying on social security. Reward self-reliance, reward hard work, reward labor. At the same time, we want to ease child poverty. Make sure that they eat properly, they have good health, and also, they got support in terms of learning and self-development and so on. Now, this flagship policy measure, as I stressed earlier, will benefit 710,000 grassroots citizens in Hong Kong, accounting for roughly 10% of our entire population here. It is expected to go a long way towards alleviating working poverty. I said earlier on, I introduced minimum wage in Hong Kong, at least a lot of controversy. Some people may wonder, why all the fuss? Minimum wage has been adopted in many places for a long, long time. Why is it so difficult to make it in Hong Kong? The answer is very, very simple, because we believe in free enterprise here. We do believe that the government should try not to interfere in the market equally. We mustn't over-regulate, especially the labour market. But we've come to a point, as Minister in charge of Labour, Welfare, in fact, I'm Secretary for the Poor, I'm Secretary for the Vulnerable, I'm Secretary for the Underdogs, if you like it. So my job, my mission is to help. But at the same time, we've got to strike a balance, not going overboard, mustn't go too far. So we've got to strike a balance. We're going to start minimum wage, despite this, the controversy in Hong Kong, at a modest rate. In other words, I kept the right balance. We start off at a generally modest rate, and then increase it as time goes. Now, it's $32.50 Hong Kong per hour in Hong Kong. If you came here 4 or 5 years ago, it's $18 an hour. You can imagine that we've improved the well-being, the livelihood of a lot of people working at the elementary level, so-called grassroots workers. But it's not easy, because Hong Kong basically believes in free market economy. We are, as I said earlier, Heritage Foundation in Washington voted Hong Kong as the freest economy on earth for the last 20-odd years. There is no denying that the current term administration, current term government is investing heavily in welfare and poverty alleviation. I used the word investing in. I never used the word spend, because we believe in social capital. Welfare, in fact, forms part of social capital. You're not talking about spending, you're talking about investing in a cohesive, caring community. And rightly so, of course, we should invest more in welfare and poverty alleviation. Welfare spending in the current financial year for the government of Hong Kong will amount to Hong Kong 60 billion Hong Kong dollars, which is 7.8 billion US, representing a significant 18.4% of our total government recurring expenditure, just after education, which is, of course, the lion's share. Education accounts for 21%. In other words, for every $100 we spend in Hong Kong, the government spend, $21 go to education, $18.40 go to my pocket, official pocket, not my personal pocket, of course. And we are a clean administration here, of course, all go to my official purse. And $16.80 go to medical and health. So the three added together, roughly 60%, which is very, very sizable amount of so-called commitment on the part of the government. But let me hasten to say at this point that we will stop short of going down the road of welfarism. We will not, and Hong Kong should not, adopt a populist approach. We're not trying to buy votes. We're not here to please people. That said, we need to do more. We need to do our best, to the best of our ability, to foster a caring society here and help the needy, particularly the vulnerable, the sick, single parents, and so on, chronically ill. I said earlier on that we have got a poverty problem in Hong Kong. How big is the problem? You will find it out, of course, in the next few days when you do community service here. As I said, Hong Kong is a very, very affluent place, generally $40,000 GDP per capita. But if you look at the number of poor people here, up to poverty line that we adopt is similar to OECD yardstick, which is 50% of household income, median household income, 50% of the median. On that basis, we've had around 970,000 Hong Kong people still so-called falling below the poverty line. It's still pretty high, I understand it. But that's why we will have to do a lot more in the years to come to really help make sure that they're looked after, make sure that they've got opportunities in the labour market, and particularly create opportunities for upward social mobility and tackle cross-generation poverty. The parents could be poor, but make sure that the kids worked through what? Education. You give them fish, not give them fish, but teach them how to fish. Instead of feed them with fish every day. Teach them how to fish so that they can stay on their own feet, be self-reliant, and that the key is education. And with skills, training, vocational training education, they are the panacea to poverty. Not handing out welfare payments. I said earlier on, we need to build a caring society, strike a balance between welfarism and caring community. This is a fine balancing act, just like minimum wage, fine balancing act. Don't go overboard. Okay, but at the same time, you have to make the target at the really needy people and help them. I must admit, it's not an easy act to achieve. Balancing act is always very difficult, and sometimes could be dangerous as well. But in building a caring community in Hong Kong, we can't just rely on government efforts. We have to mobilize the community. That's why we are stepping our efforts in that direction. We're enlisting the whole community. We are building bridges, cross-sectoral collaboration, particularly with the business community here in Hong Kong, because they are rich, they are influential, they've got a very key role to play in building a caring society. That's why we rely on particularly the growing awareness and acceptance of corporate social responsibility. You know, a lot of companies now, because they want to look good in their annual report, they've got to say that we've done ABC in terms of CSR, corporate social responsibility. And this is a very good opportunity for us to work with them, that contribute to the community in cash or in kind, in cash donation, scholarship, sponsoring events like this, for example, okay? And also helping the needy people, the elderly, and so on. Donations, finances, sponsorship, in kind, for example, your staff can act as mentors for kids from disadvantaged families, as mentors, tutors, look after them, and also volunteer. That's why a lot of corporations in Hong Kong, including Polytechnic, they have volunteer programs. Staff actually reaching out to the community, reaching out to the grassroots, and this has a very good impact in terms of building bridges and also building a caring and cohesive community. We also liaise closely with academia, like Professor Yuan, Polytechnic universities in Hong Kong, because they are really, think tank, they've got wisdom, they've got expertise, and of course, non-governmental organizations, the NGOs. In Hong Kong, NGOs play a key role. You'll be hearing from them in the next few days. Rosanna Wong, for example, she's a very successful CEO of Hong Kong's one of the youth organizations. We work closely. They are funded by my bureau, by the social department, but they have a lot of autonomy. They've got a lot of latitude to do what they want within the so-called financial parameters. And also work with the professionals, lawyers, doctors, and so on, architects. And finally, of course, the government itself. We have to really take the lead. Mean business in terms of pumping money, resources, and also in terms of policy support, make sure that things do happen on the ground. Young people like you are our future, and our future is in your hands. You want to change it, to shape it, and to make it better. As we begin to plan for the future, do remember that Hong Kong is happy to be a starting point and launching pad, your collaborator, and even your home. I'm doing marketing again. I note the theme of this symposium this morning is enrich, educate, and enlighten. I would venture to suggest my own 3 E's. That's to complement, to reinforce your 3 years excellent by any standard. I just want to compliment for what it's worth. But my 3 E's are equip, excel, and enable. Young scholars like you should seek to equip yourself fully in a fast-changing and knowledge-based global environment. In the first place, you have, for example, first of all, equip yourself first, okay? So that you can fly. So that you can excel in your own field. Whatever you are doing in future, no problem. You can excel in your own field. Successful. And because of that, you then have to be empowered, capacity, and able the world to be changed for the better. That's why I use the sequences, equip, excel, and enable. Through this double 3 years formula, your 3 years with my 3 years, I'm sure that we can help to create a better and fairer world of 3 C's. Professor Yun used A, B, C, D. I repeat A, B, C now. 3 C's. The 3 C's are a world of care, of compassion, of cohesion. A caring, compassionate, and cohesive society. On this note, I wish you all stimulating and fruitful discussion, a symposium, and a pleasant and memorable visit to Hong Kong. But don't forget to try out our unique tea cafe. And final E, I forgot to say, enjoy Hong Kong. Thank you very much.